guys, so today's video is on homework 2 solution. I'm gonna attempt to do a walkthrough on the Mage homework. So this here is the homework is here. So for this homework, we're gonna be using the green taxi data from the Datatalksclub repo. And the goal is to load 3 months worth of data, so the last quarter of 2020. And there are some tips here. So the instructions say to create a pipeline, use this name, and to use pandas in a data loader block. Ensure the date is passed just like how we did it in the course. And when we are looping, we can use the pandas concat command. So after the data loader, we need a transformer block. Remove any rows with passenger count is 0 or the trip is 0. So this makes sense, right? Why would there be a taxi trip clock in when there's no passenger or when there's no distance traveled? And another transformation is to make sure that the dates is passed as date time. We need to do the renaming to from camel case to snake case, so meaning that we need to use underscores. And in the transformer block, we also need to create 3 tests. Finally, after the transformer, we use a Postgres exporter. So we can either use a SQL data block or Python data block, and then write to a GCP bucket in Parquet format and partition by date. So it reminds us to use a PyArrow library. And we also need to schedule this pipeline to run at this time. So if you take a look at the URL for the 3 files, you notice that there's a pattern, right? Yeah, so this is my notebook. Let me switch back to my main one. Is it? Yeah, it's showing up. So you can refer to my Ella branch, because the other branches might not be, they are not permanent. Once the homework is caught, I would remove the branches. Okay, so let's open our course form. So again, if you haven't watched my how I submit homework, is when I prepare the placeholder to populate this field. Because if you don't populate the field, you cannot save the form, right? So go and watch that video first, and let's move to the homework. Okay. Again, if you open up the terminal with the command tilde or Ctrl J here to toggle the panel, this is gonna bring you to your root path, right? So if I check the path, this is the root of your project. So I don't want that. So what I normally do is I open it from the folder where the Docker Compose lives. So this is in the cohorts 2024-02 folder, so this is correct. So I'm gonna right click and open in integrated terminal. And then from here, I just activate my virtual environment. And then let's check what our Docker Compose say. So this Docker compose file is provided to us by Matt Palmer, the instructor for the Mage module. So we are going to connect to a Postgres database, and our Mage browser is going to be using that port number. So again, I'll point out that I'm using volumes. So for this module, I'm using a specific volume, homework 02 underscore volume, which I've set here. But the volumes for the Mage service is not using a volume, is the current folder. So this is my current folder, workflow orchestration. So this project name, let me open up the environment file. So this project name, this homework 2, is going to be created. It's going to be created in this current folder. So if I say ls, so you see homework 2, this is the directory, is in the module 2 folder under the cohort 2024. Right, so if I check my current path, yeah, so I'm currently at this folder, this path. So when I say create the project under this path, is referring to this line. So inside our Docker container is going to be in home/source. So I'll show this to you when we launch our Mage container. So let's open up my notebook. This is the same notebook as what I'm shown here. This one is the same notebook. Okay, so let's start up our Docker Compose. Up -d for detach. So again, if it doesn't automatically open the browser, you have two ways to launch it. You can either launch it from here under Mage, open in browser, or you can open it from here under ports, forward the port 6789, and you can launch it from here. So this port must match what you've used in your Docker Compose, of course, right? That must match. And yeah, I've pointed out the volumes, right? So I've also created a network. So if you don't know how to do all this, I refer you to my module 1 setup walkthrough. Yeah, I explain all that in my video. So let's launch our Mage. So this is our pipelines. So there's only one because I'm in homework 2 Mage project. So if you go to terminal, so this is your home source, right? Which is what we set here, this home source. So the contents of this folder is gonna be in home source. So I have my JSON service account and my homework files and my Terraform files and my walkthrough, which I don't think I have a lot of notes. Yeah. So the same content as you see here is actually in here. See, so the JSON file, my Terraform, the homework files, right? So I had tried to have this hidden away in a secrets folder, but I didn't know enough to make it work because it always changed it to a directory. This is changed to a directory, which obviously doesn't work. So back in the overview, if we look at the files, so this is how it's set up in my ioconfig. So this is set up to my Google JSON path. And what else do I have? Yeah, that's all. Okay, so if we were to start with the pipeline, open that up. Double click, it's not working. Okay, so before I code inside this browser page, I normally do my prototyping. Let's close all that, we don't need it anymore. And this one, Ctrl J, Ctrl B. So I normally do my prototyping in the Jupyter notebook. So here, let me clear all outputs and restart the kernel. So just like in the lesson, we specify the data types and the dates column. So I just take the dates column and I put the months in a list, and I create variables for the year and the color. So this is actually service in subsequent modules. So the base URL is where the URLs don't change, right? So as you notice in the pattern, it doesn't change up to this download string. So the service color would determine the folder and the file name. So then I did a testing. I experimented whether my read CSV would work. So this is green trip for October. So I'm gonna name my data frame October. Let's run this cell first. Okay, then change it to November. Where is my November? So I normally do it manually before I figure out my looping syntax and the logic behind it. So once I get it right, so I did not get this right in the first instance. I go through a lot of iterations, right? So I work out all the looping issues and my logic. So then I have all three. Let's try. Yeah, so it loaded all three data frames. So the total should have this many. So that works. Then I transfer it into a looping code. So once this runs successfully, so it should loop through 3 months, 10, 11, and 12. And then we have our concat line. So you notice there's a lot of nulls in the data frame. So if I run this again, it's going to sample another set. So now that I know that this code works, this is the code that I transfer to my data loaders as my notes show. So question 1, yeah. So if we want to try it from here, let me show my pipeline. The tree. So first we have the loader. Do I drag? Is it mouse? Okay, it's in the opposite direction. So first we have the data loader block, and then we have the transformer block, and I have 3 exporter blocks. First is to First is to a Parquet file, non-partition, then to a partition Parquet file, and then finally to a BigQuery. So this is in the same level, means that they can run concurrently because they don't depend on each other. So I can run this. Did I run this already? So this is the same code from my Jupyter notebook. I just make sure that I have the indentation done correctly. So it loads all 3 months. We have the same number of rows, 266855. Where is it? Yeah, here, 266855. And let's run my transformer block. So as the question states, we want a camel to snake. So I have the function here, camel to snake. And then we transform the date to a datetime format. Check that passenger count are not 0. So I filter only those rows that have passenger count greater than 0. Same thing with trip distance. I only take the rows where it has a value greater than 0. So for each of these transformation code, I have 3 tests, one for vendor ID, one for passenger count, and one for trip distance. Yeah, so all the tests has passed. So when we filter all the records with 0 values, we are left with 120,000 and some change. And then finally we have our data exporter. So this is to create a Parquet file. So this would be to the bucket under this name. This would be the non-partition. Green taxi to GCS Parquet. Then this would be the partition. So there's another extra line there. So if you notice, this is using the Google storage function, whereas this is using the PyArrow library, just like the where does it say that we use the PyArrow library? I think it's in the instruction up here. Yep, here. Partition it using the date column and use the PyArrow library. So that's what I did. Using the PyArrow library, write to a Parquet file, partition by date. Let's run that. And finally, we have the same thing to write to BigQuery. So I'm going to save it to the Mage dataset under this file name. So when all that is done, you can just come here, refresh. So that's the green trips data. This is NY taxi data for the partition. And this is the non-partition. PQ. Did they override each other? Yeah. Oh, the partition is in a folder. That's right. So this is a non-partition. Right, and the partition one is here. So one of the answers is looking for this number. Okay, so that's my Mage project. So that is successful. So if you look at the tree, it all has green check marks. So it ran successfully. Okay, so now we are ready to answer the questions. So once the data set is loaded, what is the shape of the data? So the answer is 266855 by 20. which is the first answer. Second one is on data transformation. So we got this answer from here, right? Once it's transformed, what's the value? Is that my answer? 139,370. Yeah, 139,370. And third question. So the second question is, upon filtering, how many rows are left? We have that answer. Number 3 is, which is the command to convert to a date time? So it's the third one, right? It's the third one. And question number 4. Question number 4 is, what are the existing values of vendor ID? So you can just use the unique. Oh, I haven't run the. Let's try again. Yeah, so there's only 1 and 2. So there's a more for vendor 2, that's why it's arranged in descending order. So the answer is 1 or 2. And number 5, question 5 is, how many columns needed to be renamed to snake case? And the answer is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Data exporting, question 6. Once exported, how many partitions are present in Google Cloud? So the answer is from this page here. So it's not exact, so the closest that we take is 96. Right? Yeah, so that's my solution notebook. I continue down to just run some tests with BigQuery. Yeah, you can look through it if you want. So that's it for the solution walkthrough, everybody. Let me know if you have questions, and you can post them in the comment section below or on Slack. So also provide feedback on the video if you have any, so I can improve for the next videos. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to encourage me to do more videos in the future. So thanks again. Bye bye.